Hello everyone, welcome to our Internet Psychology course, Unit number 1. Here we are in our third video overall in this series. Hope you guys are enjoying it so far and learning a bit about Internet Psychology. Our first two videos have been a little bit short, but we're going to shoot a slightly longer one this time. And this beautiful scenery out here. Gotta love nature and a little forest bathing with your learning. So, what is the topic today? Well, it's a bunch of technologies that people have continually thought would be the end of humanity. Recently, people have gone on about texting ruining people's grammar. They've gone on about the internet making people stupid, making them lose their memory, all these kind of different things. People are sure so many times over and over again that the internet is a piece of technology that will change humanity forever for the worse. Well, actually, this isn't at all the case. And the fact that people think this new thing will end humanity is a pretty constant thought throughout so much of history. For example, we mentioned in the last video that chess is a good example of something that people thought would ruin humanity. That all these young people playing chess when they weren't chess champions, this would be a waste of time and they should be doing work and important things and not wasting their time with this game. A similar piece of technology is the novel. Also in the 1800s, many women began to read novels. Many young women there reading novels here. And many people thought this would be the end of society. Look at all these, young girls here wasting their time reading these novels. They're just like, nothing useful. There's all this just like garbage fiction. How is that ever going to be helpful? Sometimes there's violence. There's all these things. This isn't a ladylike, important kind of subject. I can even think back to my grandmother, for example, who read Gone with the Wind back in the day, and she was told at her school as a young girl that this was a useless, unimportant book and that she should spend her time on better things. And this is something that, people were sure that novels would ruin humanity, and yet they did not. This is the same, for so many pieces of technology. Bicycles for young women. They were sure that this was going to ruin women's lives by riding bicycles. There was even medical basis, they thought, people going there, doctors saying, this will, mess up women forever to ride bicycles. Crazy, But still, it's a technology people panicked over. People, of course, not that long ago, panicked over cable TV. Young people sitting around watching cable TV, nothing useful there, violence, all these kind of terrible things. People shouldn't watch TV. TV's going to ruin their lives. And yet, people turned out just fine. The Sony Walkman, of course, people going around listening to music, they were sure this was going to lead to a terrible, degenerative group of people. And yet, guess what? It didn't. Shall I go on? Because one of the best examples we go to happens to even be reading. Many people in history have seen problems with this. Socrates, for example, saw problems with the written word. He preferred a philosophical discussion, as many of us might. But he thought that people writing things down, they wouldn't use their memories anymore. They wouldn't, rely on their memories. They would simply just go with this newfangled thing about writing stuff down. And then humanity would be ruined because nobody would ever remember anything. Well, guess what? Writing has been a great and useful thing to humanity. It has not been something to end it. And this is true of so many other pieces of technology. One of my favorite examples happens to be the newspaper. You'll see so many people argue now that phones have ruined America because people just sit down and they look at their phones all the time. All these young people looking at their phones in lectures, taking their phones everywhere. Well, guess what? They said the same thing about newspapers. I kid you not here. Back in the 1960s, for example, people thought that the newspaper would be the end of society. All these young people brought their newspapers to lectures, When they were at the dinner table, they would read the newspaper, Or when they were going out to different places, they would bring the newspaper with them on the subway and stuff like that. Just as you see people talking about people's iPhones in the same way. People were sure that newspapers, too, would bring about the end of humanity. You could also say the same for the phonograph. People thought, this recorded music will be of a lesser quality than true orchestral music. And we should have true music played in movie theaters, not this recorded stuff. Don't be ridiculous. And yet, guess what? These technologies have moved us forwards instead of backwards. People are always sure that some new piece of technology will ruin people's lives, and yet again, it doesn't. Want another example? The telephone. People were sure that now that the telephone came along and all these young women were off calling each other and all these different people were on the phone all the time, getting their own telephone lines, calling people all the time. They were sure that this would ruin their lives. They're spending too much time on these things. They're calling people all the time. This is just going to ruin humanity, right? Well, guess what? It didn't. Because that's the thing about so many things. People are sure that new technology and new inventions and the new greatest thing that young people are doing will be something that will ruin humanity, and consistently throughout time it has proven not to be the case. I have linked up several articles that this is based on in the description and hopefully the comments as well. Feel free to comment on the series here as we are diving in, of course, to our third part. I will see you guys next time with the next part as we get closer to wrapping up Unit 1 and seeing that, guess what, the internet is something that is new and wonderful and it is not about to ruin humanity. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time with the next video.